Hi, I'm Sarah Dowland, and I'm the director of Sue Bird in the Clutch. And this is a film about the 21-year career of pro basketball player Sue Bird and her journey through retirement and to the next chapter.
I didn't really have a lot of pause. I think, like you said, it's not that different from, or I thought it wasn't going to be that different from the, typical interviews where you talk about yourself, you say this. Obviously, I found out quickly it goes a little bit deeper, but what made me want to do it was trusting everybody you see on this couch, understanding that they believed in my story, wanted to tell the story in the right way, and knew that it wasn't just about my story, it was actually the impact that it can have, right? This doc being in Sundance is going to have impact on women's sports. And I think that's really the beautiful part. And that's what I was hoping for. So it's really special to be here.
It was for us a real gift that Sue's personal story really follows that trajectory perfectly as storytellers. That's what we really could. That's more than we could have hoped for. We see in the start at the very beginning of the league, which is coming off of the excitement of the dream team in 1996, and then those early years you're talking about in the WNBA, where they were really trying to find their footing and figure out how to get their audience going and find their voice. And that's where we find Sue early on in the story.
I wouldn't be here without a woman in my life, right? But outside of that, like I've been a fan of Sue's for so long, and I've watched the W, and I have a daughter who I want to take to WNBA games and other women's professional sports as well. And I remember having this conversation with Sue where she was like, it's really hard to tell our stories. Like people just don't, we have to fight and people just, and I was like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. I've been a beneficiary of a lot of women who have given me jobs, and they are shows that have been from a woman's perspective. And so in my mind, I was like, no, we'll do it. We'll sell it easily. And we met some challenges. Like we met a lot of closed doors, actually. We had a lot of doors closed in our face. And I think that made this entire group double down. And we were like, we're going to get this story done. And we're going to tell Sue's story, because this is a story not only of Sue and the amazing legacy that she's leaving behind in the W, but like of women's sports and how challenging it is to get these stories on screen when these women, they do every single thing the men do. And more when they go and they have children at times, right? And then have to take a break and then come back. Like they do every single thing that men do, but they don't get the same kind of glory. And so for me, I just, again, as a fan of Sue and a fan of sports in general and women's sports, like I just wanted to help in any way I could.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of what Emily was trying to get to, is like my career, who I am as a player, and what I found to both serve myself, because assists, yes, they're great and I'm helping somebody else, but it's also for me because we're going to win if I do that, right? So it's serving this goal. But what I found in myself through the course of my career, helping my team, making things work, making things click. I also found that off the court in terms of helping the league, helping us in our CBA negotiations, trying to assist. So that trajectory, my path through the league, finding myself, right, feeling authentic in my shoes, for lack of a better, that didn't happen until my mid-30s, and that's kind of around the time it happened for the league, right? That early audience, what we were trying, who we were trying to attract, and the ways we were trying to do it, it didn't really fit. But then later on, now you're starting to see the WNBA and what they're doing, it fits, and that's really similar. And I came to that almost around the exact same time. So that's been really special. And I think for me, to your point, it always comes back to helping. But like I said, it served two purposes.
Yeah, it is startling. It was funny to us too. It makes me laugh every time. But I think it's important to show how Sue's career has gone through all of those changes, and those things that we see in the W are reflected, writ large in our culture as well. So, women were represented at that time in this very narrow sexualized way, and it really underserved what they were doing, and also just minimized what their, abilities were. It's like we couldn't actually just promote them as athletes for their skills and athleticism. We had to define them in some other way. And I think a lot of women and girls will relate to that part of the story because it's something that we just deal with along the way in our lives. And it's just, there in sort of obvious and subliminal ways. And so we just really wanted to kind of poke at it, have a little fun with it, but also have it there to show in a positive way how we have moved on from that. So that's the takeaway, and I'm so glad we have moved on from that.
I think it's just empowering. I think it's also, Sue said this thing yesterday in a panel, like, which we all have heard and we all know, but like, if you see it, then you can be it. And I think whether the young women who watch this film decide to go out and play basketball or not isn't necessarily what we're trying to do here, as much as showing them that like this is a world that exists and you can be powerful and you can go on a journey and you can do the work and you can achieve great things and you are deserving of all the storytelling that goes along with that. And I think when I think of it, it's funny, like now having so many like dad friends in my life who is crazy, but who also have daughters. One of the things a lot of us talk about, it comes up nonstop, like, oh, I can't get my daughter this, or like, I want to get my daughter to that, but there's no access, or I really want to, I talked to a guy last night who was talking about soccer, and he was like, my daughter loves soccer, but like, I don't know where to send her to go play. And it's just this thing of like, there's always this lack there. And I think the hope for me, and I think for this entire team, is that like, this just shows that like there is opportunity, there is possibility, you can go and be a part of that, and hopefully you get people engaged in a completely different way.
Right. It's been a long journey to even get to this place where we had what we needed to make the film. And we're really excited to be here at Sundance premiering. I mean, what better opportunity for the film, for the voices of women, not just women athletes, but of stories about women. And we have some exciting things in the works. We hope the film is still being shopped around. Yeah.
Yeah. A combination of things. You think about some of the production companies you just named, and they're all men. That was the main reason why I first got involved with Together, which is both a media commerce company, myself, Alex Morgan, Simone, Manuel, Chloe Kim, for athletes. That was the initial thought was, oh, all these men are doing it, but there's no women doing it. And all we do when we go home is talk about the lack of coverage, right? So why don't we step up to the plate and start to create a platform that is going to highlight women, center their stories, give those stories a place to live and be spotlit. With that came a touch more, and that's a little bit different. That is like I guess more, I'm learning there's no such thing as like a traditional production company. I'm like, these things do all things all the time. But I guess more traditional in that we would like to do long form and tell these stories about those, again, that don't always get the shine, don't always get the look. And what makes it unique is because it's myself and Megan, two women who have had these long careers. I like to call it industry knowledge. We're just going to have a different perspective. We're just going to have a different perspective because we know this world. We know the sports world. So when we enter a room and we look at something, we're just going to see things that people who didn't live our lives don't. And that's what makes it different, what makes it special, and hopefully what allows us to tell the stories of not us. Everyone knows, we always say, we're like, people know our stories. We're not going to be involved. People ask all the time, are you going to do stuff on yourselves with a touch more? No, it's not about us. We want to tell other people's stories.